What in the Bartles and James is going on? Seriously, if you're new here, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Arlene. I am an American woman of a certain age who moved to Rome, Italy in 2008. And I recently moved to Milan. And on this channel, we talk about all things Italiano, lifestyle, St. Martin, and Anguilla. And today's video is about aperitivo and menopause, which seems to be a strange combination, but bear with me. So I did a video about aperitivo, why it's one of my favorite things about Italy, what it means, what it's about, and how in the United States there is this misconception that aperitivo is basically happy hour. It's not, it's a different thing. So I will post that link in the description below, and I will also post a link at the end of this video. That's all about aperitivo. And where does menopause come in? Well, because if you think that aperitivo is kind of like happy hour and you need to drink alcohol, you may be concerned if your tolerance for alcohol has changed drastically since peri and or menopause. You may be concerned, oh, I can't do aperitivo. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. Yes, you can, because aperitivo is not really about the alcohol. It is a social thing. It's something you do before dinner. It's a way to signal that your work is done for the day and you're going to enjoy some time with friends. It's the weekend. It's like, oh, I'm going to have aperitivo before I have dinner. And you can have aperitivo at home. You don't need to be out and about to do it. More of a ritual. Is not about the alcohol. So you could go to aperitivo and have a mocktail. You can have a Coke, you can have iced tea. It doesn't have to be alcoholic, which is a good thing, because when I started to go through perimenopause, I read about, the symptoms. Okay, there are hot flashes, you might have night sweats, brain fog, you may gain weight, your hair may start thinning, what else? You may have certain aches and pains that you didn't have before. There were all these things to look forward to. But I didn't see anything or didn't read about suddenly having intolerances to things that you didn't have an issue with before. I'm a moderate drinker. I'm not somebody who, especially since moving to Italy, for me, it's a social thing. If someone said to me, you cannot have a cocktail ever again for the rest of your life, I would be fine with that, fine. But wine, that's a different story, because I do like to pair wine with food. I feel like they go together. They enhance each other. I remember one day I was in Tuscany on vacation. I was in Pienza, sitting in the piazza with a friend, and I had a gin and tonic, which is one of my favorite drinks to have in the spring, summer, hot weather. It's great. And the next day I had one of the worst migraines. And I've had migraines before. Usually when I'm like stressed out, or if I didn't get enough sleep. I knew what my triggers were. And I noticed that during perimenopause, I would get them more frequently. But I didn't think there was a correlation between alcohol and the migraines. Then I noticed, have a glass of wine with dinner. All of a sudden, horrible migraine. So I started to do some research, and there are a couple people, doctors that I follow on Instagram who specialize in women's health, and they talk about perimenopause, menopause, and some of them said that they had to completely cut out alcohol from their diets. And other people in the comments were saying the same thing happened to them. And it wasn't just alcohol, there was something else, but I'll circle back to that later. I just thought this was so strange. And also, again, not really talked about. It's very, for me, it's like, why would I all of a sudden not be able to have a glass of wine? And I'm of the school of moderation. This whole thing of, oh my gosh, alcohol is literally poison. You should not drink it at all. Yet, if you look at wine producing and wine drinking countries, their lifespans are much longer than the lifespans of, you know, my fellow Americans in the United States. So I think, drinking to excess, obviously that's a problem. If you're an alcoholic, you should not be drinking alcohol at all. But this idea that it's all or nothing, I think is part of, the culture that I grew up in the United States. We tend to do things to extreme. We don't do moderation well. So I pulled way back and just basically, stopped. Occasionally, there's certain wine producers that I knew if I had a glass of their wine, it didn't bother me at all. But other than that, it's, when I was out with friends, I'd get a mocktail or I'd have, an iced tea or something like that. When I would cook dinner or have dinner at home, no longer having a glass while I cook. That was done because the way I would feel the next day, was just terrible. Now I'm on the other side. And again, things have changed. I can have a glass of wine with dinner. I can have a gin and tonic without having any issues. When I went to St. Martin, I was running errands with my cousin, and we decided to have aperitivo at the beach. We went to this beach restaurant, and I had a frozen cocktail. That's the only place where I drink frozen cocktails, like either by a pool or by a beach, and it was fine. I didn't have any issues. Now I drink water. I don't do anything to excess. I will have like maybe one cocktail, one glass of wine, that kind of thing. But it was very weird, and also noticed that suddenly I haven't. I had an issue with hamburgers. In the States, I would order rare, but here in Europe, I would get medium or medium rare, because if you say rare here, it's basically walking. And I noticed that the next day felt terrible. Migraine, really upset stomach, just awful. Like, I'm not going to get into the details, but you know what I'm talking about when I say stomach issues, okay? And the weird thing is that not an issue with meatballs. I would go to the butcher. If I didn't have time to make the meatballs myself, I would get them from my butcher. Not a problem. So I'm like, is it because it's cooking in a sauce? Is it because it's smaller? What is happening? And someone said to me, maybe with the hamburger, it's the combination of, the burger itself, the cheese, the bun, whatever sauce is on it. And I would eat hamburgers at, quality places. I like good restaurants. I do not understand what that's about. So of course now I'm like, I will not be eating hamburgers anytime soon, maybe never again, because I'm not going to get a burger that's well done. I mean, it tastes like a hockey puck. That's not happening. Maybe this is all part of getting older. I never had an issue with leeks. Now I notice if I have shaved leeks in like a salad, if they're raw, there's a problem. It's not a full-blown allergy. I would call it more of an intolerance. But I noticed that my all of a sudden I'm breaking out hair on my face. It's like, what is happening? If it's cooked, not a problem. So moving forward, can't have that anymore. But I want to know if you have experienced this as well, my fellow woman of a certain age, where you can no longer have any alcohol, or if you do have it, you notice that there's an allergic reaction to it, or you have an intolerance now. And did you speak to your doctor about it? What did they say? I'm curious, because it's not something that's really talked about. You hear about getting on HRT because of the hot flashes, the night sweats, the brain fog, the weight gain, the thinning hair, all these things. I hear much discussion about food, other than to say it's more difficult to lose weight once you go through perimenopause, menopause. Not everybody, but for a lot of women. It doesn't matter how much exercise you do or how much you cut back your caloric intake. This has to do with our changing hormones, etc., etc. Maybe I'll do a separate video about that because I have definitely gained weight since I moved to Milan because I don't have a gym anymore. I miss my gym. I don't miss many things about Rome. I miss my friends and I miss my gym. So anyway, I know this was kind of a strange, convoluted video, but I was talking to a friend about Aperitivo and I was saying to her, you know, a couple years ago when perimenopause was really kicking my butt, I thought, perimenopause won't let me enjoy my aperitivo in peace. You know, what's happening? And I mean, we're joking about it. And I said, you know, I'll just have to drink something else. It's fine. It's not about that. It's not about the alcohol. It's about being, like I said, being with your friends. And if you're at home, it's about, you know, saying, oh, okay, it's 5 o'clock, it's 6 p.m., it's 7 p.m., whatever time you decide to like wrap it up for the day. It's a nice ritual. So anyway, I also wanted to talk about this because I appreciate the fact that our generation, we're actually talking about the changes during the change. And before there was, I don't know, a lot of shame. It just wasn't discussed. And I get it, especially stateside, because we put a lot of pressure on women to stay young, to be youthful, because that's, you know, we're valuable when we're young. And you don't want to be old. You want to be a crone. Like, what's your point? You know, after a certain age. And if you work in Hollywood, it's like after 30, you're old. So I get it. I understand why people don't want to talk about menopause or say they were even going through perimenopause. But that's changed. Now you have people who are famous who are saying, yeah, I'm 52, I'm going through perimenopause. You have non-famous women on social media saying things like, I'm a postmenopausal woman. Do not play with me because I have no you-know-whats to give. Yeah, I think let's talk about it. Let's not be ashamed. It's part of life. It's part of, you know, growing older. The alternative to aging is death. So let's just stop letting other people dictate how we should feel about this time in our lives, and let's not be ashamed about it. Let's not hide it. Let's just talk about it, scream about it from the rooftops, because trust me, if men went through perimenopause and menopause, there would be all these studies about it. There would be all these think pieces about it. There'd be all this advice for men, how to get through it. But meanwhile, women were gaslit. You know, doctors would say, oh, you know, did you try to lose weight? Like, people were saying things like they thought they were losing their minds, and nobody wanted to talk about it. It's crazy. Like, some women did not know that they were even going through perimenopause. There, you know, doctors would think of all other reasons why they would have these symptoms that they were having. And it's like, oh, that's what's happening. And once you know, then you can, you know, figure out how to best navigate it, right? For watching this video, especially since at the beginning of the video, it may not have made sense as to why I was going to talk about aperitivo and menopause in the same video. Before, I'm going to do more videos about perimenopause and menopause because it's such a big change in one's life. And again, why not talk about it? Again, thank you for watching this video. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will help grow the channel. It really helps with the algorithm. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao, ciao for now.